Well, hey there guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, we're looking at the Creality Ender 3 V2 Neo 3D printer. Well, the good folks at Gear contacted me and asked if I would like to try out this Creality printer. And I have to admit, I was a little apprehensive at first because I know absolutely nothing about 3D printing. I have never used a machine. I've never seen one used. I don't know how to work them. I don't know how to set them up. I don't know anything about it. So I was very apprehensive. And being as transparent as I could, I relayed that information to the folks at Gear, and they said, not a problem. Let us send you out one. We think you'll like what you see. So I looked into the Creality brand of 3D printers, and these guys are absolute no strangers to the industry. They have multiple numbers of 3D printers in multiple ranges of size and quality, and you know what? They come very highly rated. So I thought, let's give this a go. So that's what we're looking at today. But remember, please, this video is from the perspective of somebody who has never 3D printed before. So if there's something that I mess up in terminology or that sort of thing, please bear with me, as this is still very new to me. So let's head over to the bench and have a look at what they sent. When you first get your 3D printer, this is what you're looking at. You get everything you see here with the exception of this larger roll of PLA. Now, Gear sent that out to me to play with the machine. However, the machine itself does come with a sample of white PLA and enough to make quite a few projects. So you have everything you need to get started with 3D printing right away. This model has a print area of 220 millimeters by 220 millimeters by 250 millimeters high. Now, for those of you out there who are my Imperial friends, that is the equivalent of just over 8.5 by 8.5 by 9 3/4 inches tall. So you can produce some half-decent sized projects on here. And honestly, with all the things that I've printed so far since having this, and I've had it for about a week now, all the things that I've printed, there hasn't been one yet where I needed extra printer room. But I can tell you, this is very addictive. I get the feeling I'm going to be upgrading to a larger unit for the larger projects that I may want to do. Now, the unit itself, on the print bed here, a lot of the 3D printers, from what I've researched, it has a glass print bed, whereas this one, it is magnetic, and it has a removable plate that you can flex a little bit to help you separate your projects. And this plate here is magnetic, and when you lay it back down, it just snaps in place, and you can very easily move the bed with these tabs here. Now guys, let me just point out to you, use these tabs. When it says warning hot surface, they're not kidding. The nozzle of this unit for melting the PLA or the ABS, whatever you're using in this particular printer, the nozzle gets extremely hot, and the printer bed is running at about 50 degrees. So you want to be careful that you're not burning yourself. So utilize those tabs if you need to move the base. So as well as coming with everything you see here, the printer also comes with a bunch of tools that you can use for 3D printing, for assembling the printer and that sort of thing. And it comes with a set of Allen keys, a couple wrenches, some flush cutters, a little screwdriver, a scraper. It comes with a micro SD memory card reader, and as well a nozzle cleaner, an extra nozzle and hose clip. It comes with everything that you need to get started and to help you out. As well, on board here, on this unit, they have right here a little drawer, and this is for the storage of some of your parts. Now, let me just point out, this is something here that I'm not really a big fan of. I was asked to review this product, and I'm giving you first impressions, and that's what I'm doing. But this is the drawer that comes with the 3D printer. And I am an organizational freak. I don't like things out of place. Everything has a place and everything in its place. But this drawer here, it comes with the side cutters or the flush cutters, but the drawer is too small to fit them. Like, unless you want to fold them up and jam them in there. Okay, you can fit them in like that, but that's not really good either, because then it's grabbing as you're pulling it out. I'm not a fan of the size of the drawer, but for the smaller stuff, it's just fine. But even the scraper, how does that fit in here? Well, it doesn't. But the best thing is that, you know what? You've got a 3D printer, guys. So all you need to do is think of it, and you can print up your own tool holder. So let me just show you this. This is one of the things that I've printed with the Ender 3 Neo. Well, this was one of my very first prints. It's not perfect, but it is very functional. And it sits here on our top extrusion and just presses down over the mounting hardware. And guys, this little unit fits all of the tools that come with the Ender 3 Neo. Every one of them. It has spaces for your wrenches, for your little screwdriver. It has the place for your scraper, just like that. And it also has room for all of the Allen keys or Allen wrenches that come with it. And for me, for someone who is an organizational freak that needs everything in its place, this is so perfect, because you use the cutters so often, you use the scraper so often. They're there at a moment's notice, and it's a great thing. And you know what? This printer did such a wonderful job printing that. This printer has wicked accuracy. It is not my design. I will point that out right off the bat, but it fits like a glove. Now, this printer has a top-mounted spool rack, and there's nothing wrong with this. It mounts very seamlessly into the aluminum extrusion that is the frame of the gantry. And while it does a great job, it holds the spool, it's never slipped, it's never faltered. What I don't like is the way that you get this sharp angle of the filament going into the extruder. But here's the thing, while there is nothing wrong with their design, if you don't like it, you have a 3D printer, and you can very easily print an offset bracket. And that's what this is. And this offset bracket, you can see how really nice and clean this print is. That is just gorgeous. That matte filament really does a great job at making the layers blend right in and really make a nice clean print. But anyway, what we're going to do is I'm going to remount this. This bracket or offset bracket is made to fit right here in the extrusions, and we can remount and relocate our bracket so that our filament then will go straight into our extruder and not come out on that weird kind of an angle that I'm not a fan of. So let me get this mounted, and I'll show you what it looks like. Well, I have our spool mount using the original hardware mounted onto this 3D printed extension bracket. I've removed the end cap from the aluminum extrusion, and we can just slide it into the grooves in the extrusion. And our filament now can sit right here at the side, and we can see that this, in my opinion anyway, from a new user, this is a much better approach, whereas this bracket here allows the filament to mount straight on in through the extrusion and has a lot less resistance from that sharp angle coming down from the top. So it's up to you. I really like this setup better. But does it affect its function? No. In all the printing I've done, the spool was at the top, and I've never had a single issue. Well, I've pointed out the two things that I wasn't a fan of right off the bat, and that was the tool storage not being large enough, and I didn't like the way that the filament mounted on the top. Both issues, although neither one affects the machine's functionality, both issues for me were corrected with a little bit of 3D printing, which, I don't know, kind of blows my mind. It really does. I've never used one of these machines before, and the fact that I had a problem with the way that a tool was laid out, and I was able to change it just by loading up a machine, pushing a button, and letting her go, that is really amazing to me. It really is. I'm almost technology shocked here with the way this thing works. But like I said, those are the two things that I wasn't fond of. I corrected them quickly. Let me show you what I do like. And the one thing I like, can you hear that? Probably not very well. That is the noise that this thing makes while it's running, and it is just a small cooling fan. This thing makes no noise, absolutely nothing. And unlike my laser engravers that have to be vented and that sort of thing, they have to be connected to a computer. This does not. There is no odor whatsoever. There are no fumes. There's no smoke. There is nothing to vent. The machine runs. You can run it in your living room 24 hours a day and you will never smell this machine. The only thing that you will hear is the fan, and it is just wonderful how cleanly it works and how quietly it works. Also, like I said, the lasers need to be connected to a computer. This does not, because everything is controlled, or all your files are right here on the provided micro SD card, and you just transfer your files onto this. You plug it right in the front here. There's a micro SD slot right in the front, and that instantly makes your files readable to the integrated control panel that is over here. So I really love the fact that everything is on board. No extra connections to a computer and that sort of thing. I love the fact that it's all on its own and it does it so cleanly. So now that I've brought up the control pad, let's have a look at that. Well, this is the integrated control panel. It is mounted right to the side of our printer, and it has one control and one control only, and that is this knob. This knob, you rotate it to get to your different menus, and to choose the one that you want, you just click. It's a push down click, just like that, and then you can scroll through the next menu by turning the knob. It's a great little setup. And when my wife first looked at this, because I called in from the shop and said, if my print is done, could you please shut the machine down? She thought this was a touchpad. And she was kind of surprised that it wasn't. But let me tell you, I am so glad that it isn't. I am so tired of touchpads because sometimes my hands shake a little and it's kind of difficult to get into the smaller settings. So if I was here on this one, touching it, it could be a problem for me, or accidental activation of things. I don't want to go auto home, but I'm fiddling with something else and I touch the screen, it registers my fingers. So for that reason, I am so glad this is not a touchpad, because I don't really like touchpads, but I do like this setup. I like this easy to navigate menu that you can just turn a knob, even I can do that, and then you can just click what you want. So I also like here that everything is in plain language. So if I go into control here, it's very plain to understand. Temperature, well, you know what temperature is. If you go into that menu, here you can set your nozzle temperature, your bed temperature, your fan speed, your PLA preheat settings. It's all common knowledge. It's not some kind of crazy computer lingo that you just don't understand. It is all regular, normal knowledge. Go into prepare, and same thing. Here you can move. Well, what do you want to move? You can choose what it is that you want to move. Do you want to move the Z axis, which is the up and down? The X, do you want to move the Y? It will give you the options, and it's very plain to understand, and you can change those values just by turning the knob after you click on the option that you want. Well, let's have a look at how simple it is to print something on this machine. And let me just point out that as a newbie to 3D printing, I have nothing to compare this to. So I don't know if all machines are this easy to work with or not. All I know is what I've worked with, and that is the Ender 3 Neo. So what I've done is I have taken an image or an STL file of something that I want to 3D print. And if you're not one who is good at designing, there is a site called Thingiverse. I'll put the link to that below. And if you're not good at designing, you can pretty much find everything you'd ever want to print on there that people who are good at designing have come out and printed up for you, or at least designed for you. And they're all free for the download. But we take that program or that image, that STL file, and from there we load it into whatever slicer program we want to use. Now for me, I'm using Cura, which is also a free download. And guys, all you need to do is export that file from Cura to your SD card. And right here now on your micro SD card is your printable files. So you will insert your card just like that. You will come over to your control panel and you can scroll, I'm already on it, but you can scroll to print. You can click on print and that will show you all of the files that are on your micro SD card. But we're going to do this one, the measuring tape cover. So you just want to click on that and you will confirm at that point that that is the print that you want to do. And now we just wait. But guys, listen to this. My wood stove crackling in the fire is making more noise than this printer. This unit is dead quiet. So guys, while we're waiting for this to finish printing, let's talk about some of the things that you can print with your 3D printer, and in fact, some of the things that I have actually printed over the past week. Now, I did my best to stay away from little trinkets, you know, little figurines. And on that micro SD card that this printer comes with, there are two things, a little boat and there's a little rabbit that you can print. And while they're cute and adorable and they test your printer's function, as far as I'm concerned, they're useless. So what is the point of them other than to sit around collecting dust? So I wanted to keep it as functional projects. So let me show you what I did. Now, I need it in my shop. Well, I like to listen to music, and I have a little Bose speaker, so check this out. There's a little stand that holds my phone on top of the speaker, and my speaker holds it very nicely in place right there on my bench so that I can listen to my music, and it holds everything right there. Normally my phone's in my pocket or off to the other side or whatever. This does it all in one space. How about an iPhone holder like this one, that when you're done, it folds completely flat? Guys, the thing with this project that absolutely blew my mind is that it printed it all one shot. This was not several layers that it printed or several parts that you had to snap together. This was printed at one time, fully hinged, fully functional. It blows my mind that people come up with this stuff, but blows my mind that the Ender 3 Neo printed it so beautifully and so flawlessly. It looks amazing and works really, really well. How about various hold-down clips for the honeycomb for your laser engraver, for those of you that have them? Or even better, for me, you guys heard me complain that I didn't have enough exhaust ports for the hose for my laser engravers. Check this out. What a beautiful addition. These things work great. They fit beautifully into the hose. They're easy to connect. They work really well. They took very little filament to print. And honest to goodness, guys, win-win situation. How about an iWatch charging station to rest your watch at night to charge it up while you're sleeping? Guys, the sky is the limit. And while I did not design any of these, what I did design are these. And I did this through Fusion 360. I have to say I'm not very good with design software. I really muddled my way through that. Very steep learning curve on the Fusion 360, but I was able to make these. And for those of you who don't know what these are the spacer bushings that is used for my miter fence on my table saw to get that tight fit of the miter bar in the slot of the table surface. Guys, these things cost me a fortune to have them sent to me because they wear out eventually. I printed these in next to no time with next to no material after designing them on Fusion 360, importing that STL into Cura, which turned it into a slicing program, put it on that little micro SD card, popped it into the Neo printer, and boom! Out comes 15 of these washers, perfectly sized. They look great. You know what? I still have to test them, but I have really high hopes for this. So what can you print with a 3D printer? Anything you want. Anything you want. If you can design it, you can print it. If you can get it in an STL format, and there's other formats that are compatible as well. STL is not the only one. It's just the one that I've been using. But if you can design it and you can get it into that format and import it into a slicing program, whether it be the one from Creality or whether it be Cura or whatever you want to use, as long as you can do that and get it on that micro SD card, this thing can print it. And there you have it. The Ender 3 V2 Neo 3D printer. Guys, I have to say, I don't normally like doing reviews on something unless I've had extensive use to try it out. I don't like first impressions. I don't like getting in there, using it for a day and saying, this thing is great. But for this particular printer, or 3D printing in general, I can really see some serious potential. The fact that I was able to make new exhaust ports for my laser engravers, the fact that I was able to make new bushings for my table saw miter bar, the fact that I was able to make storage for my fabric tape measures, guys, it just goes on and on and on and on. The possibilities are truly endless. And as I said earlier in the show, if you can design it, you can print it. Either way, guys, the Creality Ender 3 V2 Neo, it's a very cool machine. And if you're considering getting yourself a 3D printer or getting into 3D printing, you just can't beat this as far as I can see from a beginner's point of view. Guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in this week. I really want to thank PerGear for sending me out this printer. I truly appreciate it. It's just been a load of fun. I've really enjoyed working with it. It's been an honest joy to work with this machine. Very, very few hang-ups, very few problems. I had to look up a couple of videos to try to help me through if I got stuck. But gosh, there's a million videos out there of 3D printers. They're not hard to find. The information is there if you want it. If you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. You click the bell and then you're not going to miss the notifications of future episodes of the show. Guys, I'm going to put the links to everything you need to know as far as how to get one of these printers for yourself. I'm going to post the links down below to the Thingiverse website so that you can get some of these products for yourself, some of these 3D printing files. I'm going to post everything I can down below to help you guys out who are sitting on the fence. If you have any questions about the printer and you need to know something or you're just not sure, shoot me a message, guys. I'd be more than happy to help you out. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's content. I hope you're going to look into one of these because this is more fun than I should have been legally allowed to have. But more importantly, I hope you're going to join me again next week when I bring you yet another Alternative Tuesdays.